Hey everybody, welcome back to Hear Our Voices. This is your host, Kay Did Davis, and thank you for coming back to see the podcast, Hear Our Voices. So, guys, by this time the job search is over. So anybody who did, put in their application, I can't wait to work with any of you guys who, if you follow us or heard about us in the past couple of months, we thank you so much for just being a part of our family and things like that. Also, guys, can you please follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and what else? We are doing stuff on Reddit too. So if you want to follow us on Reddit, you can. So I don't think we have a particular link. I think it's only my page, but right now we're doing things on there and try to get out information. I don't want you to forget, if you're a person with lived experience and would like to tell your story with family homelessness in the US, we would love to have you on the podcast to hear your story and also tell people how you got out of it and break the stereotypes of what people think of homeless people. People think a lot of things negative about homeless people, but we have a story to tell. We are stronger because we came out of it. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted you to share your story and tell people how you overcame the struggles in life. Everybody has problems in different areas in any part of their life, and you are no different, and you came out of it as a survivor of that particular, thing. So also, guys, we drop videos every week. We have a Spanish podcast and we also have an English podcast. So if you want to be on any one of those, we would love to have you. Also, if you don't want to be on video, it's fine. It's fine, fine, fine. But if you're a person who does have resources, we would love to have those resources for other people to get help. Anything for preventing homelessness, or if people are in shelter and they need services, if you would love to give us that. And also people for aftercare. But the only information we're taking and what states we're taking from is New York City, because we're based in New York. So everything we have is for New York City. But for the stories, we take stories from anywhere. So it doesn't really matter from that part. So I'm gonna get into the interview that we have today. We have a special guest. I met her at the conference. If you saw the YouTube video, I have to say YouTube reel. It wasn't a lot of content, but it was a little snippet of the conference we went to earlier this year. I met her in person, but I met her before then, in a group that we did a small little little setup we did at the conference and things like that. This is Natalie Jimenez. I hope I didn't butcher your last name. I'm really trying, guys. I promise. And you're gonna hear about her journey. She's not from New York City, as you know. We do podcasts, we take people's stories from anywhere in the US, right? But I want to make you understand how no matter what state you are living in, being homeless is a trial. You have to go through it and you have to come out on the other side. And she has done that. And I don't want to get into her story. We'll make her get into her story and how she overcame homelessness with her family. So Natalie, can you tell us a little bit about how did you become homeless?
Thank you, Khadijah. I am very appreciative that you actually want to hear my story and you think other people might be interested in it. Um, I actually became homeless um, after I was discharged from the military.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I was a single mom and I was discharged from the military in 2002. And I ended up going back to my home state of Washington from Norfolk, Virginia, because I was stationed there. And I didn't have anywhere to live. I had tons of skills being in the military, supervising, and I couldn't find a job that paid enough to pay for housing, food, and, everything that goes with, providing for a child and yourself. So I um, hooked up with a local organization that provided transitional housing.
Right.
And with the transitional housing, it had case management, and we worked on goals. And one of my goals was to complete a degree, get a better paying job, and and secure permanent housing.
Right.
And during that transitional phase, I was able to get permanent supportive housing. which is the difference between that and permanent housing is that I would still have a case manager that would help me work on my goals, provide me resources that the community has. And so I was able to go to school. I enrolled in college, and during that period of time, I started working at a local hospital. And it was not easy because by that time, um, I guess what I did left out leave out is that I was pregnant during that time. I was homeless also. So not only did I have a child already, but I had another one on the way. And so having childcare and the trials that come with trying to find childcare, um, adequate childcare, I was relying on family members who, when I would come home, they would either, be passed out drunk after a 12-hour shift. And you're just like, how can I rely on you to watch my kids? And we're on two
Right.
different paths here. I'm trying to get somewhere, and you're like, with even though you have good intentions, you've got a problem, and I can't deal
Right.
with your problem. you know and or stealing my laundry quarters, and I'm just like, come on,
No.
like, you're not helping me. So it was just like, what do I do? So not being dependable for my job, but having to be there for my kids,
Right.
put me in a predicament where I was losing employment, because
Mhm.
I couldn't hold down a job because I had to be there for my kids. For me, my number one priority is to, be present for my children. And so, I decided I would just work, work, work until I can get them to a point where they could stay home. So that was a period of like 7 or 8 years of just working a minute, like a minimum wage, lower level position, and trying to, um, I was able to obtain Section 8 housing voucher.
Mhm.
So that, subsidized my rent. But, you know, when you divvy in every single expense that you have,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with being in a neighborhood that is more affluent, because where I moved for my permanent supportive housing was kind of like, those areas where they're like, we're gonna have a couple low income housing apartments here and there
Right.
throughout the area. So, I mean, so it looks like we care for the poor. I don't know. So people can, I mean, I know that's kind of just, a jaded opinion, but it's, so that, to help in, you know, letting people live in different areas. So with that came, they didn't have free school lunch. They didn't have, they didn't have, I take that back. They didn't serve breakfast. School didn't start until like 8:30. I'm just like, I gotta be to work by 7, and it takes me about 45 minutes to drive there. You guys can't watch my kid. You can't feed him. Like, where am I gonna find a job? I'm not some executive or tech person. I can't just log in at home. And so I think that was a challenge of being in those areas, or
Right.
living in that area. But I stayed in that area, and I just worked and as much as I could, sometimes working 2 jobs, coming home at 8, trying to take care of the kids, doing
Right.
homework, cooking them a full meal, doing all the, domestic stuff.
Right.
Eventually, I, they got to the point where my kids were pretty self-sufficient when it came to making themselves food. And, as a single mom, you have to teach your kids to fend for themselves because,
That's true.
like, you're just like, I've been through the ringer, and you need to know how to survive,
Right. Right.
like,
Just in case something happened to
yeah,
me, you need to know how to do
yeah,
it, baby. Yeah.
yeah, you have to, like, you got to be able to like thrive during survival. So for me, it was, making sure they had those tools to be able to care for themselves. And I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to finish my degree and hopefully secure, a good paying job to get us out of this apartment, because I
Right.
was super grateful to still have, subsidized housing. But, everyone wants that American dream, or at least I do.
True.
So I went through to college, back to college, and I asked them, well, like, what credits do I need to, get into a bachelor's program? And they
Right.
were, and I was like, because I was going for nursing at one point,
Oh.
and they told me, well, your science stuff expired last year.
Oh
So
no.
and I know. I was like, what? And they were like, if you would have took like one more class, you could have went into the nursing program. But now
Oh
you have to
wow.
retake all your science
Yeah,
classes.
they're like that.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, this what? Like, but does it count that I've been working in healthcare all this time? And they're like, no, absolutely not.
Wow.
So, so I was like, okay, well, where can I go? Like, what program can I get into? And they said, well, there's a Bachelor's of Applied Science program for healthcare management and leadership. It'll teach you the skills to be, start in management. And I thought, well, I can do that. That's fine. And I got into the program right away, and this was all through the COVID. Like,
Oh.
and I was working 2 12-hour, like, two shifts, or two jobs at two different hospitals in the Seattle area, and they were each 12-hour shifts. And I think I would get like one day off a month. So it was really important that I had a position. I was a health unit coordinator. So I had a position where I had a computer in front of me so I could read and do my job at the same time. And I worked nights. And, I finally was able to finish the program and graduate. And that's kind of just how I got to where I'm at in a nutshell. During this period, I had to find an internship. And I reached out to Barbara Poppy, who um, is a national expert on homelessness. And I had met her back in 2009, and she was really excited because she had a project coming up that she thought I would be, perfect for. And so I ended up on Healthy Parents, Healthy Babies. So that was an adventure of its own.
Oh, I know. Healthy Mind, Healthy Baby, or Healthy Mind, Healthy Children. I don't know if it's two different organizations. I've heard of them though. And is it with Citizens for, is it in New York based or no? It's like it's a national.
So Healthy Parents, Healthy Babies is a report. It's
Okay,
not an organization or anything. It's just a report that Barbara Poppy, myself, and Caitlin Jones co co-wrote, and it's under um, the framework on equitable homelessness response.
got it.
So, and under that, it has several different organizations like the National Alliance on Indian Homelessness, the Urban Institute, the Housing. Um, and there's several, but you can go to their website, and the report is published there. And the word report was my main role was to put together a lived experience committee of women of color, um, Black women, the majority. I wanted Black women and then women of color to basically, through telling their stories of homelessness, we put together um, a policy and practice. I can't remember the exact word because I'm, fogging out here, but policy and practice recommendations. I should know all this. I pretty much wrote
Yeah,
it.
the best of
So
us. It's okay.
I should know all this. There's just so much in this brain. It's like
Right.
filtering it out. So there are policy and practice recommendations on homelessness and maternal health care. And so all these women, what they have in common is that at one time they were homeless and they were pregnant while experiencing homelessness. And all the women are from different age groups and different experiences within homelessness. We have women,
Right.
a woman who was in prison, a woman who's experienced generational homelessness, um, you know, um, women whose children were taken away at the hospital because of homelessness, not because they were evaluated as a bad parent
Right.
or any priors or anything like that, just because that state at that time had a policy that well, they're considered unfit because they have nowhere to take their baby afterwards.
That's
So we're
crazy.
just going to take them away, and then they're going to have to figure it out from there, get their life together
That makes
you
things
know
worse though. Like honestly, that I can imagine because when I was in hospital with my daughter, they got to have no place to go at the time. They told me, "Oh, I'm gonna call ACS." Can you? It's like put yourself in their shoes as a mom, you know, and you just had a baby. You already don't have a place to go, and plus this, they're gonna put an extra stress on you saying, "I'm gonna take your baby if you can't figure it out," but yet you should be there to help me to say where I should be going. At the time, I don't know if you know about PATH, this New York City's family shelter, what like kind of is a center, and they push you out to the shelters in New York City. But they had denied me so many times, I stopped going there. If they were doing their job in the hospital properly, they should have gave me an in because social workers, that's the kind of their job to help you out, right? Not saying all social workers are not doing their job. I'm just saying a particular one who came in my room and talked to me where I'm going to bring me and my kid. Got to have like she wanted a place to send my birth certificate and stuff like that. I said I have no place to go. They should had a way to put me in the path because I'm in the hospital and I just had a baby. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it's weird, but yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the recommendations in this report, in the Healthy Parents, Healthy Babies report, is that they have like a 24-hour postpartum care, facility. And this should be a response and a resource. Having worked at a hospital as a health unit coordinator, we're kind of like the hub of a unit. So we know where every doctor is, where every nurse is, who all the patients are, who's left the unit, who's come back, who do they need to call for what, when, where, why.
Right.
We are the know. If you're a know-it-all, that's a good job for
That's
you.
true.
And I'm a nosy person who wants to know it all. So, so tell me, and I'll keep it within myself
Right.
and let you know when you need it.
Right.
So, having that, that number for that person to be like, when a nurse comes to you and they're like, oh man, this patient, because you hear everything. This
That's true.
patient, in the middle of the night, someone delivers and they're like, this patient doesn't have anywhere to live. Or, when they discharge, well, maybe we should call, if we had this 24-hour postpartum care type of facility, we could call them and put them, on alert. So come time of discharge, they can, go there,
Right. I think
and
that's
they
a good
can get the
idea.
care, like like their postpartum doulas, lactation, all the things that they need
Right.
to, help them out with their mental health and everything. I mean, I can't imagine having two C-sections myself.
Ooh.
I literally, right after I gave birth, the day after I gave birth is when I found out that I got transitional housing. I
Oh
was
wow.
literally homeless when I went into the hospital. And I could not
Wow.
imagine having to recover in a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I I've never been to a shelter, and from what I've heard from one of our lived experience committee members is that a story that she told me was there was a young woman who delivered, and at the time she already had a 7-year-old child, and the child was living on, sleeping on the top bunk where her and her newborn were on the bottom bunk. And I
Wow.
was just thinking to myself, that's after a C-section. You're coming home, like, who's handing you the baby?
Right.
It's probably the 7-year-old thinking, my God, I got to help mom. But she's also got to get him up and prepared for school, or him or her up for school. And
Right.
then the whole time, this kid is probably thinking at school, like, I hope my mom's okay.
Right.
And I just see all the different things that could be fixed if we as a community came together and helped pregnant women, because I feel like oftentimes they are pretty invisible. You
They
think,
are.
they
Thank you guys for coming to listen to Hear Our Voices this week. We hope to see you next week for part 2 of Natalie's story. And just also follow us on social medias. Facebook, YouTube, everything is down in the description box. And talk to you later, guys. Bye.